back. Hi guys. Again, if you're joining me for the first time, my name is Dr. Ivy Branin. I'm a naturopathic doctor located in New York City, specializing in women's health and hormones. And we are continuing our whole series on pregnancy and fertility in your 40s. And if you're tuning in either for the first time or multiple times, I highly recommend that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, if you like this video, please don't be shy and definitely like it. And also feel free to enter any questions or comments you have in the comment section. Also, any of the products that I recommend in today's video will be available on my full script, which if you haven't subscribed yet, you can easily subscribe in the description. There's a link and you'll find all the quality supplements if I do recommend anything. So again, we're continuing our topic of healthy pregnancy in your 40s, and specifically today we're going to be talking about all about how to maintain a healthy pregnancy in your 40s, and also discuss some of the typical ups and downs that can often happen, not just when you're in your 40s pregnant, but in pregnancy in general. So a little bit of background, and of course, if you've been watching our videos, you understand why I'm so passionate about this topic. It's not just because I've helped a lot of women in their 40s achieve a healthy pregnancy, but I myself am a woman in her 40s who is pregnant. Actually, today is my 37th week, and I am 43 years old. And so I'm very passionate about talking about what we can be doing to being healthy when we're in our 40s and pregnant. So what are some of the main ways to ensure a healthy pregnancy? And I would say that this is applicable not just to women in their 40s, but anyone who is pregnant. So the first would definitely be having a really good preconception plan in place. So this is all the stuff you did prior to getting pregnant. And I've talked a lot about that at great length in many of my previous videos. One of the biggest recommendations, specifically when it comes to a preconception plan, which is really focusing a lot on fertility, specifically egg quality, is starting early. So we're talking about at least 3 to 4 months prior to even getting pregnant. And it's not just about taking specific nutrients that are going to help support egg quality and getting healthy nutrition and exercise on board, but also if you have any pre-existing conditions, this could be an optimal time to get those under control prior to getting pregnant, because a lot of pre-existing conditions, things like type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, can all negatively impact pregnancy. So that's all about preconception plan. Of course, if you want more details, exactly what that involves, I highly recommend that you watch some of the other videos in this series. So besides the preconception plan, definitely healthy eating during pregnancy. And yes, you are eating for two, but depending where you are in your pregnancy, your baby could literally be just like the size of a seed. So yes, you will be consuming more, but the bigger thing is not just about consuming more, but more about higher quality foods in general. So fruits and vegetables, high in antioxidants, high in water, high in fiber, which when we get into the rest of this video will definitely make a lot more sense of why that is so important. Being very choosy with your carbohydrates. So high fiber is always more desirable. So typically I'll usually tell patients about 2 grams of fiber per serving of carbohydrates. So that's how you know that you're choosing a high quality carbohydrate. Protein, and not just getting in like the 60-70 grams, depending obviously on your nutritional needs and the nutritional needs of your developing fetus, but also getting a variety of proteins from high quality omega-3 fatty acid fish. Definitely want to steer towards the clean, safe versions. For the most up-to-date guide would be the Safe Seafood Watch, available by the Monterey Bay aquarium. So definitely want to make sure we're getting good healthy fish, but also that there's some that can be very toxic. Also some vegetarian sources of protein is available. So having a wide variety of protein and just a wide variety of foods in general. Exercise. So if you're new to exercise, obviously you want to consult with your OBGYN or your midwife, but if you are somebody who is already active, really not that much of a need to radically cut down, though definitely some modifications is recommended. And if you're working with a personal trainer, that can also be very helpful in discussing different modifications, specifically as you progress in pregnancy. I can tell you for myself, what my exercise looks like during pregnancy is I do work once a week with my personal trainer, mostly doing a lot of core, pelvic floor work, and some upper, some arms, because I don't know how heavy my baby is going to be. I do about 2 to 3 ballet classes with some modifications based on my own personal needs, and then at least once a week with yoga. And I personally recommend definitely choosing a center that has a focus on prenatal. I actually go to the prenatal yoga center up on the Upper West Side in Manhattan. I really like them because they're not just modifying for pregnancy, so it's not just like a gentle version of a regular yoga class, but actually very practical information in utilizing certain poses and breath that will actually help to facilitate labor and delivery, but also some of the aches and pains that we have during pregnancy. So I highly recommend you check them out. Also, even if you're tuning in from a different state, they do also offer a wide variety of online classes. So I highly recommend that studio, and we'll probably put a link to them in the description of this video. Sleep is also very important. It can be a challenge as well, and I will talk a little bit about that. But the more that we can get quality sleep, the better. Though very specifically during that first trimester, sleep can be very disrupted. One, because of hunger fluctuations, also the increased need to go to the bathroom, specifically at night, and even having some of that nervous energy. And then, as we progress through the stages of pregnancy, specifically in the 3rd trimester, for women or pregnant people who are not accustomed to sleeping on their side, it can be a little bit disruptive as far as like getting used to that. And definitely recommend getting a lot of pillows, specifically pillows between the legs, can really help. But making sure that we're getting adequate sleep is going to be very important during pregnancy, obviously to the best of our ability. The other thing I also recommend for a healthy pregnancy is really having a great social support system. So this obviously can be your family members, but people in your community. That's one of the other reasons why I like the prenatal yoga center, that there is a community. We even check in and talk about how our pregnancy is going and where we're at the beginning of class. Definitely reaching out to friends that might have gone through this journey before you. I'm very fortunate that I have a couple friends in my community that have given birth just a few months before me. Plus, I also have other mothers that I know that are of the same age that have also gone through this journey before me, and it's just helpful just to have that support where needed. And then lastly on this list of how to make sure that you're having a healthy pregnancy, I definitely recommend supplementing right. So I actually don't necessarily recommend a standard prenatal in my practice. More or less, I recommend some key supportive nutrients that are really important for pregnancy. So first on that list is folate, and I always recommend folate in the methylated form. And again, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you really need to be actually supplementing with folate even prior to getting pregnant. The type of folate I currently have been taking and I've been recommending for my patients, it's by Pure Encapsulations. I actually really like their Pure Genomics B complex, because one, it has the methylated folate at the proper amount. It also has a lot of B6, and it's in general a very good B complex, taking that with food ideally. Iodine, so iodine is another really important one, and you're really going to be wanting to take a minimum of 150. In fact, actually most people probably are going to want to take 225 micrograms, and I take the iodine in a conjunction with a bunch of other minerals, specifically zinc, in the form of a Trace Minerals product. The one I use personally is by Claire Labs. I really like their LDA at Trace Minerals. The other thing about Trace Minerals, or just minerals in general, typically they're better taken away from food, so about an hour away from food. It can be a little bit difficult, specifically in that first trimester when you're dealing with morning sickness, so having it with a little bit of fruit or fruit juice tends to be tolerated, or taking it before bed. DHA, so DHA is one of our omega-3 fatty acids, and it's very vital for baby's brain development. So I recommend taking a high DHA fish oil. At least you want to look for one that has about 800 milligrams. The one I use is by Pharmax. They have a fish oil. It's a liquid that could be a little bit nauseating for some people, so you can definitely also get a fish oil in a capsule product. And then if you're vegan, there's a lot of actually really good vegan options for DHA that are derived from algae. I also recommend taking choline. Also, choline is very important for the brain. We do get it in eggs, but often we need more. So I recommend getting about 250 to 500 milligrams. Right now, I'm actually taking 2 different forms of choline. One is by Life Extensions, and the other one is Douglas Labs, just to kind of have like more of a balance. Probiotics are really important, specifically ones that have strains that are specific for vaginal health. So Lactobacillus reuteri, Lactobacillus rhamnosus, and lastly Lactobacillus crispatus, which is a little hard to pronounce. So looking for products that are typically usually formulated for female flora is a good idea, specifically when we're thinking about giving our baby the best start as far as with supporting the microbiome. There's a couple different ones that I've used. I like from Vital Aid. I really like their Mommy and Me formula. Also, Allergy Research Group has also just recently put out a really great female support probiotic that I also like, because it does have the crispatus, which you don't always find in all formulations. And then also Claire Labs has a really good formulation for women's health. And then lastly, calcium. So yes, we can definitely we want to make sure we're getting calcium from our food, but we might need some additional support in that area. So most pregnant people are going to be needing about maybe additional 450 to 500 milligrams per day outside of what they're eating. I really like the one by Pure Encapsulations. They have one that's formulated with vitamin D and K, so at least you know that it's going into the right place. And so I definitely recommend getting a good calcium supplement on board. And lastly, I didn't mention this on this list, but also vitamin D. And so most pregnant people are going to be needing anywhere from like 1,000 to 2,000 IUs daily. And so that's basically what I've been taking, and also what I've been recommending for patients. And one of the other reasons why I often don't recommend prenatals are, one, a lot of them do have vitamin A that sometimes is too high actually for pregnancy, and vitamin A can cause birth defects, and also some of them do have iron. And one of the things I find is, yes, some pregnant people will need iron, but often those that do need the iron, it's best taken actually away from food. So I know it sounds like a lot of different like individual supplements, but that has been, from my experience, what I recommend. So in the previous video, I talked all about how there's a dark side, unfortunately, to being pregnant in your 40s. And I don't want to just paint all that doom and gloom without showing the lighter side and what are actually some of the benefits or advantages of being an older mom. So first, definitely financial stability. So many of us who have gotten to this stage in life, we're very stable in our career paths. We've already maybe done the grad school thing. So we might be more financially stable than our younger counterparts. Also more emotional maturity. Many of us maybe have worked up some of our past issues, and so we're better able to support our children through their own journeys as well. We also tend to have a better support network. We've met our people, we've established our community. Also, even when it comes to that better support network, we probably might have better foundations with our partners, at more mature relationships. And then there are some like kind of unusual, I guess, benefits. There has been actually some studies showing that women who conceive in their 40s are 4 times more likely to reach 100. So there's a potential benefit in longevity when it comes to delaying pregnancy. The other thing that we're also seeing, again, it's debatable, but there have been some studies showing that children born to older mothers tend to actually have better education and are actually prone to less injuries. Kind of interesting. So there's some interesting benefits to being an older mom. Now, some things that you might also be kind of curious about is what to do with all these pregnancy symptoms and what are some of the natural remedies. So regardless if you're going into motherhood in your 40s or younger, there's definitely a lot of ups and downs and symptoms when it comes to being pregnant. And then the unfortunate reality is that a lot of the things, both in the conventional toolbox and even in the naturopathic toolbox, are actually contraindicated during pregnancy. So what are some of the things that we can be doing? So probably on the top of the list of pregnancy symptoms is morning sickness. I definitely have had it, and morning sickness typically usually starts within the few weeks of the first trimester and usually concludes either towards the end of the first trimester or beginning of the second trimester, though there are some women, some pregnant people that will experience severe morning sickness throughout pregnancy. So the first thing definitely I would say is, as much as like I was talking about eating healthy in the first part of this video, really I would say is eat what works. So whether it could be crackers, it could be really the refined carbohydrates, but I would say definitely, if something is working for you, just eat that. I would also say too, when it comes to eating, definitely more frequent meals, not going too long without eating something, and also starting early. So prior to getting pregnant, my habit was more like eating breakfast 9:30, 10 o'clock, even though I wake up around 7. And I found that specifically during that first trimester, I was much better suited by eating within that first hour. So making sure you get something on your stomach. Then from some of the natural remedies, vitamin B6, so about 50 to 100 milligrams daily, and that's one of the reasons why I really like the Pure Genomics B complex, because of the amount of B6 that is in it. And some patients will need to actually take that dose more frequently. I definitely recommend, again, with any kind of B vitamin, to definitely take that with food. And then lastly, ginger, whether it's in fresh forms or also encapsulated products. And then you're really steering clear if something gives you the ick. It's always kind of fascinating what is going to give you the icks. And also morning sickness, nausea is really so different than any other type of nausea, at least that I've experienced. The other big issue that a lot of pregnant people report is muscle cramps. And my top intervention for muscle cramps, and this is actually kind of something I recommend for almost most of these other conditions, is magnesium. Both taking magnesium internally, but also applying magnesium topically, whether it's in a lotion or an Epsom salt bath. Obviously with Epsom salt baths, you have to be careful about not going too high in temperature, but that can really help. Also applying things like Tiger Balm or Bengay can help, and then massage, but definitely want to make sure that if you are incorporating massage, to work with someone who does work with pregnant clientele, because there are definitely some issues that can arise with massage if not knowledgeable on that. Insomnia. So unfortunate reality is that there's a lot of different reasons why insomnia can occur during pregnancy. So again, back on the top list, definitely magnesium. I really actually like from Vital Nutrients their triple magnesium, because it has both malate and glycinate, so it's actually going to really help with both the muscle cramps, but also going to really help with the sleep. Taking that before bed, anywhere from at the low end maybe 150 all the way up to 300 to maybe even 600 milligrams before bed. Having a snack before bed, so specifically a nice something very easy to digest but high in protein. So one of the reasons that pregnant people might be waking up in the middle of the night specifically is because of being hungry. So making sure to have a nice snack before bed. And then lastly, really getting in the habit of a proper unwinding routine. Currently, my husband and I are not going to bed at the same time. I need a little bit more unwinding time than he does, and so I give that to myself, and then when I feel ready for bed, I go into bed. Heartburn. So heartburn is definitely something that can happen during pregnancy, and a lot of it has to do with the change in hormones and how it affects digestion. And that also can really disrupt sleep too. So my favorite things, and a lot of the things I often recommend for acid reflux, unfortunately, are contraindicated during pregnancy for a variety of different reasons. So my main go-tos are aloe juice. So having about 2 to 4 ounces of aloe juice. You want to make sure it's just aloe juice and doesn't have the latex part of the aloe, because that could act like a laxative, and a lot of the laxatives, unfortunately, these stimulating lactives in particular, can bring on contractions. So just a pure aloe juice, definitely one that ideally doesn't contain sugar. It's not the most pleasant taste, but you can mix it with a little bit of water and fruit juice, and I find that at least for me, has been very, very helpful. Avoiding what we call GI irritants, so anything that could be irritating to the GI tract, specifically at night. So this could be coffee and chocolate. For some people, dairy products can be very irritating, acidic products, and then also just anything very, very heavy before bed, I definitely would recommend to avoid. And then lastly would be papaya enzymes. So taking some papaya enzymes with meals can also help a lot when it comes to acid reflux. And then last on this list, another digestion complaint that often can happen during pregnancy is constipation. So some of again, and this all has to do with a lot of the hormonal changes actually do affect the way that we digest. So definitely want to make sure that we're getting enough fiber. Yes, as I've mentioned before, specifically when I was talking about morning sickness, we might actually benefit from more refined carbohydrate just to help with the nausea. But definitely, obviously, as pregnancy progresses, want to make sure that we're choosing high quality carbohydrates with a lot of fiber, lots of fresh fruits and vegetables. A probiotic. So as I mentioned before, in the supplements to incorporate, making sure to have a probiotic, or incorporating a variety of fermented foods that will also help with constipation. Hydration, making sure that you're having enough water is very, very important. Actually, our fluid needs increase during pregnancy. So we want to make sure that we're having enough water. And then also from the supplement front, again, our friend magnesium. And so some of the main forms of magnesium that are going to be more helpful for constipation are magnesium citrate, oxide, and malate. Again, I really like the triple magnesium from Vital Nutrients because it has a variety of different magnesiums, and I think it's a perfect kind of combination when it comes to pregnancy. So getting some magnesium. And then lastly, I'd also say keep moving. So whether it's just simply, getting in maybe 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day, doing a little bit of yoga, or doing whatever modified exercise that you have been doing prior to pregnancy. So that's also really important, is like get moving. So hopefully there's a lot of information today. Hopefully you'll be able to incorporate these so that you will have a healthy pregnancy. And again, highly recommend that you definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. I don't want you to miss any of the amazing content that we're putting out, specifically all about being in your 40s and pregnant and getting pregnant. Very, very beneficial. And also, if you like this video, don't forget to like it. And also feel free to look into the description of today's video, where you can find links to any of the supplements that I recommended, as well as finding out more information about the prenatal yoga center, which I'm just like a huge fan. So thanks so much for tuning in, and looking forward to talking to you next time. And I'm actually going to start talking all about labor and delivery in your 40s and what you should be expecting when you're expecting. Okay. See you then. Bye.